Nobody in that bank noticed the man in the worn jacket who walked in that afternoon. He was just a single father. Calloused hands, tired eyes. The kind of person the system usually overlooks. Yet the check he placed on the counter was worth $10 million. The manager laughed coldly. She did not verify it. She did not ask questions. She simply tore the check in half right in front of everyone. Garrett Donovan woke the same time every morning as he had for the past 2 years. The apartment was quiet. Gray light filtered through the window over the kitchen sink. He made coffee in the old machine that clicked and wheezed, then started on Piper's lunch. A peanut butter sandwich, apple slices, a juice box. The brown bag had her name written in marker. He heard her door open. "Morning, Dad." "Morning, sweetheart." She was 8. Brown hair in a ponytail he had learned to make from a video. School uniform mostly clean. Shoes that were getting too small, but would last another month. They ate breakfast without talking much. Cereal, toast, the kind of comfortable silence people have when they are used to each other. "Mrs. Hargrove will pick you up today," he said. "Again, I have something to do in the city. Won't be long." "Okay." She did not complain. She never did. They walked 3 blocks to the bus stop. Other parents were there, with clean cars and nice coats. They nodded at Garrett, but did not really see him. He was furniture in their neighborhood, the single dad who worked odd hours and wore the same jacket all winter. The bus came. Piper hugged him. "Love you, Dad." "Love you too." He watched until the bus turned the corner. Then he walked back home, showered, and got dressed. Clean jeans, the jacket with the worn collar, boots that needed new soles. He looked in the mirror and knew exactly what people would see. A guy barely holding on. The envelope was in his desk drawer, white, unsealed. He had put it there 2 days ago after the wire came through. Inside was a check, a single piece of paper with his name and an amount that did not look real when written out in words. $10 million, 2 years of work. Nights when Piper was asleep, weekends when she was at her friend's house. He had built security software for a fund that operated in the shadows. They wanted something untraceable, unbreakable. They paid what it was worth. The check was from an escrow account. Legal, verified, real. Garrett folded the envelope and slipped it into his jacket pocket. He took the train into Stonebridge City. He stood the whole way, holding the rail, watching the buildings grow taller through the scratched window. The city was all glass and steel. People in suits, everyone moving fast. Garrett walked slow, hands in pockets like he had nowhere to be. Rivergate National Bank stood on the corner of 5th and Grant. A big stone building with glass doors and brass handles, the kind of place that looked as if it had been there forever and would remain long after everyone else was gone. Garrett stopped outside. A woman walked past him, designer bag, phone to her ear. She did not look at him. A man in a business suit held the door for someone behind him and let it close when Garrett reached for it. He caught it anyway and walked inside. The lobby was cold. Marble floors, high ceilings, voices echoing. Velvet ropes formed lines toward the counter. Potted plants stood too perfect to be real. A security guard near the door stood with arms crossed. Garrett got in line. Nobody looked at him twice. He was used to that. What he was not used to was carrying a check that could change everything. That could mean Piper got new shoes when she needed them, that she could go to college without loans, that they could move somewhere with heat that actually worked. He just had to deposit it. It should have been simple. The line moved slowly. Garrett watched the tellers behind the counter. Young, efficient. They smiled at customers in suits and processed transactions with quick fingers on keyboards. The whole system was smooth, rehearsed. He counted 4 security cameras. The guard by the door shifted his weight every few minutes, radio on his belt, eyes scanning. His gaze passed over Garrett, paused, and came back. Standard procedure. Garrett kept his hands visible. Ahead of him, a businessman complained about wire transfer fees. The teller apologized in a voice that did not sound sorry. Another customer wanted to open an account. Forms were produced. Signatures required. Garrett waited. The air smelled of floor polish and recycled cold. Then he heard heels on marble. A woman crossed the lobby from a door marked Management. Mid-40s. Blonde hair pulled back tight. Navy suit that fit perfectly. Her expression was practiced pleasantness for the people she needed to please. Everyone else received pure efficiency. Her name tag read, Denise Hargrove, branch manager. She scanned the lobby the way generals scan battlefields, checking everything, making sure her domain ran correctly. Her eyes landed on Garrett. Something flickered across her face. Not concern, not curiosity, but assessment. He did not fit. Wrong clothes, wrong posture, wrong everything. She looked away, spoke briefly to a teller, then glanced back at Garrett. He felt it, that weight, that judgment he had carried his whole life. The line moved. He was third, then second. Denise walked to the counter and whispered something to the teller who would serve him next, a young woman with red hair and a nervous smile. The teller nodded, glanced at Garrett, and nodded again. When it was Garrett's turn, the teller said, "How can I help you?" "I need to deposit a check." "Of course. Do you have an account with us?" "Then we'll need to—" She stopped and looked past him. "Miss Hargrove will handle this." Denise stepped to the counter. "Good afternoon." Her voice was professional, cold underneath. "I understand you're making a deposit and you don't have an account here." "Not yet." "I see." She looked him up and down, taking her time. "We have procedures for new accounts, especially for large deposits. Security reasons. You understand?" Garrett said nothing. "May I ask the amount?" He took the envelope from his pocket and set it on the counter between them. Denise picked it up, opened it, and pulled out the check. Her eyes moved across the number, his name, the issuing bank. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. Then she looked up at him, and something changed in her face. Not surprise, not professionalism, but disbelief of the ugly kind. "This is a joke," she said. "Sir, this—" She held the check up like evidence. "This is $10 million, and you're trying to deposit it here." People nearby were starting to notice. The businessman who had complained about fees, an older couple waiting in line. They sensed something happening. Denise's voice grew louder. "Not much, just enough." "Where did you get this?" "I earned it." "Doing what?" "That's not really— I think it's very relevant." She looked at the check again. "This is issued from an escrow account I've never heard of, for an amount that, frankly, doesn't match your appearance." The silence in that moment was specific. Garrett heard it clearly. So did everyone else in the lobby. Garrett kept his voice level. "I can provide documentation, the wire transfer receipt, contract details, whatever you need." "I'm sure you can." Denise set the check down on the counter and smoothed it with her palm. "But let's be honest, people who have $10 million don't walk into banks looking like—" She did not finish the sentence. She did not need to. The businessman stepped closer, watching. The older couple pretended not to stare, but did not move from their spot in line. The security guard's hand moved closer to his radio. "Is there a problem?" Garrett asked. "I'm not sure yet." Denise picked up the check again and held it up to the light like she was checking for watermarks. "These days you can print anything and make it look official. People come in here all the time with fake checks, fake IDs, fake stories. It's not fake. So you say, call the issuing bank, verify it. Oh, I will. Oh no, she smiled. It did not reach her eyes. But first I need to ask you some questions for security purposes. You understand? I've answered your questions. Not all of them. She leaned forward slightly. Where do you live? Stonebridge. Where in Stonebridge? The West Side. West Side, she said, as if it explained everything. And what do you do for work? Software development. Software. Another smile. And your employer? I'm independent. Independent? She set the check down again and crossed her arms. So you're telling me that you, an independent software developer from the West Side, earned $10 million, and you're just now coming to deposit it, and you don't have a bank account, and you're wearing... She stopped and looked at his jacket. The businessman laughed. Short, quiet. But everyone heard it. Garrett felt something shift in his chest. Not anger, something colder. Are you going to verify the check? He asked. I'm going to do my due diligence. Then do it. Don't tell me how to do my job, sir. The word sir sounded like an insult. Denise picked up her phone and dialed a number. Yes, this is Denise Hargrove at Rivergate National's Stonebridge branch. I need to verify a check. Escrow account. She read off the account number. Amount is $10 million. And she listened. Garrett watched her face. I see. And the account is active. But then pause. No, I'm asking because the individual presenting it is atypical. Pause. Yes, I understand security protocols. That's exactly why I'm calling. She hung up. The account exists, she said. Then there's no problem. The account exists, she repeated. But they can't verify the specific check without additional information. The account holder would need to confirm the transaction directly. I have the contract. Anyone can forge a contract. Then call them back. Have them contact the account holder. That could take days. So I'll wait. Denise looked at him. Really looked. Not at his clothes or his hands or his shoes, but at him. And whatever she saw made her decision. I can't accept this check, she said. Why not? Because I have reason to believe it's fraudulent. The lobby went quiet. Garrett felt it. That moment when the air changes, when everything tips. It's not fraudulent, he said. I disagree. Then let me speak to your supervisor. I am the supervisor. Your regional manager, whoever you answer to. I don't need to involve anyone else. She picked up the check and held it between both hands. I'm rejecting this transaction. Company policy, Section 12, Subsection 4. I have the authority to refuse any deposit I deem suspicious. You haven't even verified. I don't need to. Denise raised her voice, not shouting, but loud enough that everyone in the lobby could hear clearly. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Garrett did not move. This is a legitimate check, he said quietly. That's your claim, but based on my professional judgment. She looked around at the small crowd that had gathered, playing to them now. This appears to be an attempted fraud. The businessman stepped back as if fraud might be contagious. The older woman clutched her purse tighter. Denise gestured to the security guard. Joel, please escort this gentleman out. Joel was in his mid-30s, ex-military bearing. He approached slowly, one hand near his belt. Sir, you need to come with me. Garrett looked at him, then at Denise, then at the check still in her hands. I'm not leaving without that check. This check is now evidence, Denise said. I'll be reporting this to the authorities. Evidence of what? Attempted bank fraud. The words landed like stones. Garrett felt the shift, the way people lean away from you, the way you become something other than human, a problem, a threat. I haven't committed fraud. That will be determined by the proper authorities. You haven't verified anything. You've made an assumption based on... He stopped because saying it out loud would make it real, would give it power. But Denise said it for him. Based on the fact that you don't look like someone who has $10 million. She held up the check. This is either stolen, forged, or part of some scheme, and I'm not going to let my bank be used for money laundering or fraud. I can prove. Joel stepped closer. His hand was on his radio now. Sir, please don't make this difficult. Garrett looked around the lobby at the faces watching him. None of them saw a man. They saw a story they would tell later. Did you hear what happened at the bank? Some guy tried to deposit a fake check. $10 million. Can you imagine? He looked back at Denise. I'd like that check back. I told you, it's evidence. It's my property. It's fraudulent property. You haven't proven that. I don't need to prove it. I just need reasonable suspicion, and I have plenty. She was enjoying this. Garrett could see it. The way her shoulders were back, the slight upturn at the corner of her mouth. You know what I think? Denise set the check on the counter again and smoothed it flat with her palm. I think you found this, or someone gave it to you and you thought you'd walk in here and try your luck. Figured maybe we wouldn't check. Maybe we'd just process it and you'd disappear with the money. That's not... But you picked the wrong bank and the wrong manager. She looked at Joel. Please remove him from the building. Ma'am, I really think... No, Joel. The guard reached for Garrett's arm. Garrett pulled back, not aggressive. Don't touch me. I'm leaving. Just give me the check. Denise picked it up again, held it in both hands, and smiled. No. She said. Denise held the check at both ends. This is what I think of fraud. And she tore it in half. The sound was small, just paper ripping, but in that marble lobby it echoed. She was not done. She tore it again and again, pieces getting smaller, confetti made from Garrett's future. The older woman gasped. The businessman said, Jesus. Joel stopped moving. Denise let the pieces fall onto the counter. Little white and blue fragments, numbers, and signatures torn apart. There, she said. Problem solved. Garrett stared at the pieces. 2 years of work. Every late night, every weekend, every hour away from Piper. Gone. Not stolen. Not lost. Destroyed by someone who had decided he was not worth the effort of a phone call. His hands were shaking. He put them in his pockets. That was my check, he said. His voice sounded far away. That was evidence of fraud, Denise corrected. And I disposed of it accordingly. You can't. I can. And I did. Company policy allows me to confiscate and destroy fraudulent instruments to prevent them from being used again. She crossed her arms. You're lucky I'm not pressing charges. Garrett looked at her. She believed she was right. She believed she was protecting the bank, protecting customers, doing her job. And maybe that was the worst part. Not malice, not cruelty, just absolute certainty that she knew what she was looking at. I earned that money, he said quietly. I'm sure you believe that. I can prove it. With what? More fake documents? He did not answer because what could he say? That he had worked for 2 years building unhackable security for people who did not officially exist. That the contract was real but would never hold up in court because both parties wanted deniability. That he was exactly what he looked like. A guy barely getting by until recently when the wire cleared and changed everything. Nobody would believe that. Denise certainly did not. "Joel, please escort him out." This time Garrett did not resist. He looked at the pieces of the check one more time, memorizing what he could see. Account numbers, fragments of his name. Then he turned and walked toward the door. The crowd parted. Nobody met his eyes. He pushed through the brass-handled door and stepped into the afternoon sunlight. Behind him he heard Denise's voice. "Everyone can return to their transactions. Sorry for the disruption. We take fraud very seriously here at Rivergate National." The door closed. Garrett stood on the sidewalk. People walked past. Cars drove by. The city kept moving like nothing had happened. He reached into his pocket, pulled out his phone, opened his banking app. The escrow account showed a zero balance, because the check had cleared out the full amount, and that check was now in pieces on a counter. He put the phone away and started walking, with no idea where he was going. Garrett walked 3 blocks before he stopped. He was standing in front of a coffee shop. Through the window, he could see people at laptops, students studying, someone reading a newspaper. Normal life, normal problems. He kept walking. The west side was a train ride away. He would have to pick up Piper. Mrs. Hargrove would understand if he was late, but he did not want to be. Piper worried when things changed unexpectedly. His phone buzzed. A text from Mrs. Hargrove. "Piper's fine. Making cookies. Take your time." He typed back, "Thanks. Be there soon." Another buzz. This one made his chest tight. Electric bill. Overdue notice. $53. Not the end of the world, but it used to be. $53 meant choosing between heat and groceries. Now, or what should have been now, $53 was nothing. The check would have cleared in 2 days. Money would hit his account. Real money, the kind that erases every small panic. But the check was gone. Garrett sat down on a bench at the bus stop. Nobody else was waiting. He thought about going back, demanding they pay for the destroyed check. But what would that accomplish? Denise was certain she was right. She had destroyed what she believed was fraud. The bank would back her. He would need lawyers, documentation, months of fighting. And meanwhile, Piper needed new shoes. The rent was due soon. His laptop was dying. He needed it for work. He thought about the people who had paid him, the quiet fund that operated in legal gray areas. They would not issue another check. The contract was complete. Payment delivered. What happened after that was his problem. He could call them, explain. But they did not take calls. That was the whole point. You did the work. They paid. Everyone went their separate ways. He had signed papers acknowledging he understood the risks of anonymity. This was one of those risks. Garrett stood up, brushed off his jacket, and started toward the train station. Then he stopped. A black car was pulling up in front of the bank, a town car with a professional driver. The back door opened and a woman stepped out. 50s, gray suit, red scarf. She moved like someone used to being in charge. She walked straight to the bank entrance, did not pause, did not look around. The door opened before she reached it. Someone inside had seen her coming. Garrett watched her disappear inside. Something in his gut twisted. He was not sure why. He should leave, catch his train, get back to Piper. But his feet did not move. He stayed on that bench, watching the bank entrance, waiting for what he did not know. A short while later, the bank opened again. The woman in the gray suit stood in the doorway. Her eyes found him. She walked across the sidewalk, steady, deliberate. Garrett stood up as she approached. "Mr. Donovan." He blinked. "Yes. My name is Catherine Vale. I'm the regional director for Rivergate National." She extended her hand. He shook it. Her grip was firm. "I believe there's been a serious problem," she said. "You could say that. Would you mind coming back inside?" I think we need to have a conversation." Garrett looked past her at the bank. "I'm not sure that's a good idea. I understand your hesitation, but I promise you things are going to be handled very differently this time." "Who told you what happened?" "The security guard, Joel Ramsey. He called me directly. He said something felt wrong about the situation and thought I should know immediately." Garrett looked at her, trying to read what was real and what was performance. "Miss Hargrove destroyed my check," he said. "I know. She accused me of fraud. I know that too. So why would I come back in?" Catherine's expression did not change. "Because what happened to you was unacceptable, and because I'd like the opportunity to correct it. But I can't do that if you're standing out here." A bus pulled up to the stop. Doors opened. Nobody got off. The driver looked at Garrett. He waved him on. The bus pulled away. "One condition," Garrett said. "What's that?" "She doesn't touch anything related to my account ever." "That won't be a problem." "Why not?" "Because as of a few moments ago, Miss Hargrove no longer works at Rivergate National." The words hung in the air. Garrett studied Catherine's face. She was not gloating, not apologizing, just stating a fact. "You fired her." "I began termination proceedings. They'll be completed within the hour because of what she did to a customer. Because she violated about 6 different protocols. Because she destroyed property that wasn't hers to destroy. And because—" Catherine's voice got quieter. "She made assumptions based on appearance rather than facts. That's not how we operate. Or at least, that's not how we're supposed to operate." Garrett looked back at the bank building. Through the glass doors, he could see people moving around inside. Business as usual. "Is she still in there?" "She's in my office with HR on speakerphone." "Does she know why you're out here?" "What did she say?" Catherine smiled. It was cold. "That there must be some mistake. That I don't understand what happened. That she was protecting the bank. She really believes she was right. Most people do." Catherine gestured toward the bank. "Will you come back in? I can't fix what she broke if you don't." Garrett thought about Piper, about getting home, about moving on and forgetting this whole thing. But he thought about the way Denise had looked at him, the way she had torn up that check, the certainty in her face. And he thought about the next person who would walk in looking wrong, sounding wrong, being wrong by someone else's standards. "Okay," he said. They walked back to the bank together. This time, when Garrett pushed through the door, people noticed. The lobby had more people now, lines at every teller window. Conversation stopped when Garrett walked in beside Catherine Vale. The businessman was still there. So was the older couple. They recognized him immediately. Denise was standing near the management office, red-faced. A man in a cheap suit stood beside her. HR, probably. She saw Garrett and something flickered across her face. Not fear, not guilt, but anger. Catherine walked straight to her. "Miss Hargrove, I believe you know Mr. Donovan." Denise's jaw was tight. "I've already explained. You'll have your turn to speak. Right now I need you to listen." Catherine's voice carried. Not loud, but clear. Everyone in the lobby could hear. "Mr. Donovan came into this bank earlier. Is that correct? And he presented a check for deposit. A fraudulent check. I didn't ask you to characterize it. I asked you to confirm he presented a check." Denise's hands were fists. "Yes." "And what did you do with that check?" "I confiscated it, as is my right under—" "You destroyed it." Silence. Denise's mouth opened, closed. "You tore up a customer's check," Catherine continued, "without verifying its authenticity, without conducting any actual investigation. You made a judgment based on, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Donovan, Mr. Donovan's appearance. I called the issuing bank. You called and confirmed the account exists. Then you decided that wasn't enough. Why? Denise looked around at the crowd, at Garrett. Because it didn't make sense. Look at him. He's wearing a jacket with holes in it. His boots are falling apart, and he's trying to deposit $10 million. That's not normal. That's suspicious. So you assumed fraud? I made a professional judgment based on what? His clothes, where he lives, the fact that he doesn't look like your idea of wealth. Denise's face was scarlet. I was protecting the bank. You were protecting your assumptions. Catherine turned to Garrett. Mr. Donovan, would you mind explaining what you do for work? Garrett's voice was quiet. I'm a software developer. Security systems. And the check Miss Hargrove destroyed was payment for a 2-year contract. I built custom security architecture for a private investment fund. Can you verify that? Garrett pulled out his phone, opened his email, and showed Catherine the wire transfer notification, the contract summary, the completion certificate. Catherine took the phone, studied it, and handed it to the HR representative. He read it. His face went pale. This is legitimate, he said. Denise grabbed for the phone. The HR representative pulled it back. That could be faked, she said. Anyone can mock up an email. Catherine held up her hand. Joel, could you come here, please? The security guard approached. You were present during this entire interaction, correct? Yes, ma'am. In your professional judgment, did Mr. Donovan behave in any way that suggested fraud, aggression, deception? Joel looked at Garrett, then at Denise. No, ma'am. He was calm, cooperative, answered questions. Didn't raise his voice even when Miss Hargrove got hostile. Denise's mouth fell open. Hostile? I was never— You called me a criminal, Garrett said quietly, in front of everyone here. You destroyed my property. You had security try to force me out. That feels pretty hostile. The businessman shifted uncomfortably. The older woman looked away. Catherine picked up the pieces of the check from the counter. They were still there, scattered, torn. This check, she said, holding up the pieces, represented 2 years of Mr. Donovan's work, 2 years of supporting his daughter, building a future, and you destroyed it because he didn't look right to you. I was following protocol. No, you were following prejudice. There's a difference. Catherine set the pieces down. Mr. Donovan could have been wearing a suit, could have driven up in a nice car, could have had all of the markers of wealth you expected to see, and you would have processed that check without a second thought. That's not— It is, and we both know it. Denise's face crumpled, not with remorse, but with fury. You don't understand. People come in here every day trying to scam us, and 99 times out of 100, when someone like him walks in with something that big, it's fake. Someone like him, Catherine repeated. Someone who's poor, someone from the West Side, someone who looks like they haven't had a decent meal in weeks. The words came out like weapons. Garrett felt them land. But they did not hurt anymore because everyone in that lobby heard what he had heard from the start, the truth behind the professional courtesy. Catherine's expression did not change. Thank you for clarifying, she said. That makes this much easier. And she turned to the HR representative. Final termination, effective immediately. Cause: destruction of customer property, violation of verification protocols, discrimination, and gross misconduct. The HR representative nodded and started typing on his tablet. Denise's face went white. You can't— I can, and I am. I have rights, union protection, which will be explained to you in detail right now. I need your employee badge, your keys, your access cards. This is insane. I was doing my job. Your job was to serve customers, not judge them. Catherine held out her hand. Badge. Now. Denise stared at her. For a moment, Garrett thought she might refuse, might make a scene. But she reached into her jacket, pulled out a lanyard with her ID badge, and slapped it into Catherine's palm. The keys came next, then a security card. Your personal items will be packed and delivered to your home address, Catherine said. You're not to return to this building. Any questions about severance or final pay should be directed to HR. I gave 12 years to this bank, and in one afternoon, you threw away every bit of goodwill you'd built. Catherine gestured to the door. Joel will escort you out. Denise looked around the lobby at the customers watching, at the tellers pretending not to stare. Her eyes landed on Garrett. I hope you're happy, she said. I'm not, Garrett replied. I just wanted to deposit a check. Something in his voice must have hit her, because her expression changed just for a second. A flicker of something that might have been understanding, but then it was gone. Joel touched her elbow gently. Ma'am, this way. They walked to the door. Everyone watched, the businessmen, the older couple, the tellers, all of them witnessing the cost of being wrong. The door closed behind them. The lobby was quiet. Catherine turned to the crowd. I apologize that you all had to witness that, but I want to be very clear about something. Rivergate National serves everyone, regardless of how you're dressed, where you're from, what you look like. If you ever feel you've been treated unfairly here, you have my personal number. When she pulled out business cards and started handing them to people. We're better than what you saw today. I promise you that. The older woman took a card. Thank you, she said quietly. Conversation started up again. Slowly, people returned to their transactions. The moment was breaking apart. Catherine turned to Garrett. I have paperwork for you to sign. Complaint forms, incident reports, and we need to issue a new check. How long will that take? For the check, 10 minutes. For the paperwork, maybe an hour. Garrett pulled out his phone and texted Mrs. Hargrove. Going to be later than expected. The response came back fast. No problem. Piper and I are having a tea party. Take your time. He looked at Catherine. Okay. Catherine led him to a private office. Not Denise's old space. A larger room. Wood desk, leather chairs, windows overlooking the street. Sit, she said. Garrett sat. She took the chair across from him, not behind the desk, face to face. First, she said, I'm sorry. What happened to you should never happen. Not here, not anywhere. You already fired her. That's more than most places would do. It's the minimum we should do. Catherine pulled out a tablet and started typing. The check will be reissued by the escrow company. I've already contacted them. They're sending it by secure courier. It should be here by tomorrow morning. They believed you? I sent them the security footage. They saw everything. Garrett blinked. There's footage, of course. Every transaction, every interaction. She showed him the tablet, video playing silently, him approaching the counter. Denise's face, the check being torn. It looked worse on video, more deliberate. Can I get a copy of that? He asked. Already done. It'll be emailed to you within the hour for your records in case you want to sue. That's your right. The bank won't fight it. We'll settle fairly if you choose to pursue legal action. Garrett watched the silent video play. Denise's hands tearing the check, his own face blank, tired. I don't want to sue, he said. Catherine looked up. No? I just want to deposit the check. Move on. Forget this happened. That's generous of you. It's practical. Lawsuits take time, energy. I have a daughter. She needs me focused on her, not on being angry. Catherine studied him. Can I ask you something? Sure. Why didn't you fight back? When she was accusing you, when she destroyed the check, you just stood there. Garrett was quiet for a moment. Because they'd already decided who I was. He said finally. Denise, the people in line, everyone. They saw what I looked like and made their assumptions. Nothing I said was going to change that. But you were right. It doesn't matter. When people decide you're something, you become that thing to them. You can argue, you can prove them wrong, but in that moment you're still what they think you are. That's a hard way to live. It's the way most people live. We just don't talk about it. Catherine set down her tablet. For what it's worth, you shouldn't have to live that way. Not in my bank. Your bank, Garrett said. Not everyone's. Then I'll work to change that. She pulled out forms, official bank documents, incident reports. He signed where she indicated. He read everything first, took his time. When they were done, she brought in a manager from another branch, a man in his 60s. Kind eyes, gentle voice. Mr. Donovan, I'll personally handle your account setup, new customer intake, and when your check arrives tomorrow, I'll process it myself. Here's my direct number. He handed Garrett a card. Call me if you have any concerns, any questions, anything. Garrett took the card. Thank you. It's my pleasure, sir. That word again, sir, but this time it sounded different. It felt different, like it was meant. The paperwork was done. Garrett declined the offer of a car service. He said he would take the train. Catherine walked him to the door. I mean it, she said. She said. If you change your mind about legal action, call me. The bank's lawyers will work with you, not against you. I appreciate that. And Mr. Donovan, I'm sorry you had to teach us this lesson. You shouldn't have had to. He looked at her. Just make sure the next person who walks in looking like me doesn't have to teach it again. I will. Garrett stepped out into the evening air. The city was darker now, street lights on, people heading home from work. He caught the next train and stood the whole way, watching the city disappear behind him. His phone buzzed. A text from Piper. Mrs. Hargrove says you're on your way. We saved you cookies. He smiled, typed back. Can't wait. Love you too, Dad. The train rocked gently. Garrett closed his eyes. He thought about the check, about the money that would be in his account tomorrow, about everything. It meant new shoes for Piper, a better apartment, heat that worked, but also something else. Proof that he was worth what he had earned, that the system could work, that sometimes, not always, but sometimes, people saw their mistakes and fixed them. Denise would land on her feet. People like her always did. But maybe she would remember. Maybe next time she would pause before making assumptions. The train pulled into his station. Garrett got off and walked the 3 blocks home. Mrs. Hargrove met him at the door. Piper was behind her, face covered in cookie crumbs. She crashed into him. He picked her up. She was getting too big for this, but he did it anyway. Hey, sweetheart. We made chocolate chip, your favorite. Best news I've heard all day. Mrs. Hargrove gathered her things. Garrett thanked her and paid her for the extra hours. She refused. He insisted. When she left, it was just him and Piper. How was your day? She asked. Complicated, he said. But it got better. Good. She handed him a cookie. These make everything better. He bit into it. Warm, slightly burnt on the edges. Perfect. You're right, he said. They sat on the couch and half-watched a movie. Piper fell asleep against his shoulder before it was over. Garrett did not move. He just sat there, his daughter warm against him, cookie crumbs on her shirt. Tomorrow the check would come. Tomorrow everything would change. But right now, this was enough. This was everything.